Broadly speaking, there are two categories of content that we will store and collaborate on in SharePoint. The first is documents, and this section of the course is about how we work with documents. The second type of information is information stored in lists, much like an Excel table, and we'll deal with those next. Whether we're looking at a list or a library, though, it will be exposed to us in a web part or an app part on a page. For example, this is our document library, and it's in a web part. The web part has a title that's actually a hyperlink. This one has a toolbar with some simple tools on it. And then we have the list of the documents that are available to us. And I can select documents. Notice that there's a check mark, so I can know that I can do that. But if I click here, I can select them all. Nice little select all button. Next, I have a column that shows me the icon for this type of document, so I can click to sort by type or to filter by type. If I only want Word documents, I can choose DocX, and there we go. The filter's applied, and I can see that because there's a little funnel button. I can clear filters, and we're back. And then the next column is name, and here I have the ability to sort these in ascending or descending order. And finally, notice that I can drag more files here to upload, which we'll be doing later. We have a lot more information about these documents than is displayed here, and the fact that we're only displaying a couple of columns for type and for name, and also the menu that's automatically attached so that I can see more about the document, get a preview, access other commands. The reason that I'm not showing more than that is that I have other demands on this page. Remember, though, that this is a hyperlink, and if I click the document's hyperlink, I'll go to a more expansive view of my document library, the view called All Documents. It's a built-in view in the document library. So every time I create a document library, one view, this one, is automatically created. That shows me not just the type and the name, but also modified and who it was modified by. There are even more columns of information: who created a document and when they created it, for example, how large the document is. All of those columns of information are available, and I can choose to display more columns of information in a view. We'll talk more about views later on. If I change this particular view, though, by, for example, saying I'd like to sort these in ascending order. Now that I've sorted them in ascending order by their modified date, it's a different view, and I have the ability to save it. There's actually a link where I can click Save this view and give it a new name, and I'm going to say by date. By usually implies that it's sorted in a particular order, as opposed to the word only, which implies a filter. You save that. Now I have an All Documents view and a By Date view that I can easily switch between. If I add more views, they'll be available to me here on the drop-down. Right now I have the ability to modify this view and create this view. And just as I can search the entire site with the search box, the last item that's here on my view allows me to search for a particular piece of text, whether it's in the file name or in the file itself, by entering a search term like letter. Notice that adding a filter like this, where I'm just searching for a word, is not something that I can then save. If I'd like to be able to save more complex views like this, I need some other tools. When I switched into the document library, I got two new tabs on a ribbon. Rather than having Browse and Page, I have Browse, which looks like this, and then a tab for Files and a tab for Library. Let me discuss the distinction. The Files tab contains commands that are relevant to one or more selected files. For example, I select a file, and now I get choices like delete this document, share this document, run a workflow on this document, create a new document, view the properties of this document. If I have multiple documents selected, now I can't do things like view properties and share because those are reserved to single documents, but I can still delete multiple documents. Notice also this is where I'd create a new folder in this library. Please don't create any folders in SharePoint until you learn about metadata later in this course, because folders are not as useful in SharePoint as they are in other environments like Windows, and in fact make some things work less well. So please don't rush off and create new folders. So what's in the Library tab? Well, the Library tab contains commands for the library as a whole. For example, I have the ability to view this particular view in a grid, to do speedy editing like I might in Excel. And if I choose Quick Edit, then I get a grid. I can even add columns and I can fill items. If I go back to my standard view, now I'm working row by row. I can modify the view. I can create a new column. I can switch between my views. I can email a link, and again, not to a document, but to the library, because these are the library commands. I can synchronize this library to a folder on my computer. I can add shortcuts to this library to Word, Excel, and PowerPoint with a single click. I can export this entire library list to Excel, modify my library settings, and see who the whole library is shared with. Again, on the Library tab of the ribbon, we're seeing commands for the entire library. To return from this library back to the home page of the site, simply click Home, and we're back.